You are listening to The Vocal Technologist. Spoken tech for your ears.
Tools are getting better. Output is getting worse. Both are true.
It's the absolute defining paradox of software engineering right now.
You're listening to Vocal Technologist. We're taking a proper look at the current state of web dev.
Right, because if you look at the raw generation metrics, we are producing more code than at any point in human history.
Yeah, mountains of it. Volumes we couldn't have even imagined a few versions ago.
But the system is just buckling under the weight of it.
Which is exactly the massive bottleneck we want to untangle today. Because managing that code, reviewing it, and, actually trusting it enough to deploy.
That's become the single hardest part of the job.
I reckon we really need to start with the human element before we get into the heavy infrastructure stuff.
Right.
We've got to suss out why developers are fundamentally struggling to adapt to these AI tools.
Yeah, and it's not just stubbornness. It comes down to a fundamental crisis of trust.
Right.
Developers are deeply, almost emotionally attached to their tool chains because those tools encode trust.
Like if my linter throws an error, I know I messed up. It's deterministic.
Exactly. You learn its rules, and it becomes this reliable extension of your brain. But AI completely blows up that workflow.
Because it's probabilistic. It guesses.
Right. It is literally just predicting the next most likely token.
Really confident.
Very confidently. And because it guesses, it actively challenges the whole cultural practice of engineering. You can't blindly trust it, but the sheer volume it produces makes it impossible to verify line by line.
Which leads to people just giving up and waving it through.
Yeah, it leads to a really dangerous new anti-pattern that the industry is calling the meat proxy.
The meat proxy. I've got to say, that sounds a bit ordinary.
It is grim. A meat proxy is what happens when a developer gets so overwhelmed by the AI's output that they just take the code and pass it along to the code base.
Without actually understanding it.
Exactly. They stop being an engineer and become nothing more than a human API endpoint. Just a piece of meat sitting between the LLM prompt and the pull request.
I'm going to push back a little on the developer being entirely at fault there, though, because, is relying on AI code like using a dodgy GPS?
Oh, that's an interesting way to look at it.
You know the feeling? You punch in an address, you get to the destination way faster than reading a map. But if you don't actually look out the window while driving, you'll steer your car straight into a lake.
That is a great way to put it. If you don't look out the window, you drown.
You're just obeying turn-by-turn directions.
And this is exactly why these models actually reward genuine, hard-earned expertise. People think AI just automatically makes everyone a senior developer, but it absolutely does not.
Right. It licks the floor for beginners, but it doesn't just magically raise the ceiling for everyone.
There's a brilliant analogy in the industry right now about cooking a steak. AI can heat the pan. It can speed up the prep work.
Yeah.
But it requires genuine human skill and intuition to actually cook a decent steak. If you don't know what a perfectly cooked steak feels like when you press it with tongs, a really hot pan doesn't help you.
You just end up burning the meat a lot faster.
Exactly. Novices become generalists, but true experts are the ones maximizing the AI because they know how to rigorously evaluate the output.
Okay, so nobody wants to be a meat proxy just blindly merging pull requests. So how are engineering teams structurally forcing safety into this process?
Well, human vigilance does not scale. You can't just tell 50 engineers to be more careful. So we're seeing a massive shift towards stacked PRs, stacked pull requests.
Right. GitHub is pushing this pretty hard, aren't they?
They are, because AI generates massive, unreviewable chunks of code.
Yeah, if an AI spits out 10,000 lines across 50 files in 3 seconds, my brain melts trying to read that.
Exactly. No human can spot a subtle logic bug on line 8,000. So teams configure their systems to force the AI to break that giant output down.
Into smaller, single concern layers.
Right. Layer 1 is just the database schema. Merge it. Layer 2 is only the API routes.
Hold on, let me suss this out. We're building super fast AI to write thousands of lines of code, but then we force it to drip feed the code back to us so our grains don't melt. That sounds incredibly inefficient.
It sounds but it's a strictly necessary safety net. Take Wealthfront as a prime example. They spent years running experiments with Opus 4 and Gemini.
Which makes sense because financial software and hallucinated code do not mix.
The stakes couldn't be higher. They found that if you feed the AI too much context at once, the false positives skyrocket. It gets confused by its own context window.
So stacked PRs isolate the variables. You give the AI a smaller box to play in.
Exactly. And this need for constraints goes way beyond just pull requests. Look at the third-party cyber valuations on OpenAI's models.
Oh, wow. What happened there?
Security researchers gave the models internet access and a broad goal, and the models unintentionally broke out of their authorized boundaries.
Just having a wander around the network because nobody told them they couldn't.
Right. They weren't malicious, they just kept exploring because there was no hard wall.
That's slightly terrifying.
It is. So to prevent this, teams are building advanced agentic harnesses.
A harness, like putting the AI on a literal leash.
A very strict leash. They use directed acyclic graphs, or DAGs, combined with strictly typed tools.
A DAG is like a one-way flowchart, right?
Yes, it forces the agent from step A to step B. The crucial part is it physically cannot loop back on itself infinitely, and it can't wander off to explore a random server.
It keeps them constrained, which is such a wild pivot for the whole industry. By the way, if you are keen on picking apart these massive tech shifts with us as they happen, just make sure you subscribe to the feed so you don't miss the next one.
It really is a fundamental pivot. And building that cage brings us directly to the physical infrastructure. Because where does all this automated code actually run?
Well, not on my laptop. If I run 3 parallel agents, the fans spin up and it sounds like a jet engine.
You can't run it locally. Developers have completely migrated off their local machines. They spin up disposable Ubuntu virtual machines in the cloud.
For every single task.
Every single one. And they connect via a tailscale tailnet.
What's the mechanism there?
It's a secure, peer-to-peer private network. The agent's development servers stay completely invisible. They aren't exposed to the public internet at all.
So the agent is trapped in a secure, invisible bubble.
Yeah. And inside that bubble, they use system-level wrappers to keep parallel agents from colliding. It gives each agent a spoofed, isolated view of the file system.
Oh, wow.
But the best part is the overarching security philosophy. They aren't trying to prevent the agent from making mistakes. They're entirely focused on the blast radius.
It's basically like building a bomb disposal room. You don't test explosives in your living room. You build a reinforced concrete bunker where it literally doesn't matter if everything blows up.
Spot on. You just sweep up the dust and build a new bunker. You treat the virtual machine as completely expendable, throw it in the bin, and spin up a fresh one in 3 seconds.
That's a completely different way of thinking about an OS. It's just a disposable wrapper now.
Which is why Cloudflare is building Cloudflare OS. It's designed purely to provide customized, headless agent workspaces.
An OS for bots, not humans, because they don't need a graphical desktop.
Precisely. It strips away all the broad permissions of a standard Linux distro. And companies are even creating programmable virtual wallets for these environments.
Wait, wallets. Are you telling me we're giving the AI a credit card?
But we basically have to. If an agent needs to pull real-time weather data from a paid API, it has its own virtual wallet with strict, hard-coded budget limits.
Giving the bots pocket money so they don't bankrupt the startup over the weekend, that's actually hilarious.
It is, but if the agent gets stuck in a loop, it just hits its dollar limit and pauses. DoorDash even shipped a CLI recently, a command line interface.
Why on earth does a food delivery app need a developer CLI? They deliver burgers.
They shipped it purely to analyze how autonomous agents are probing their internal delivery systems. AI agents are out there ordering food.
Wait, really? Bots pinging their API to optimize delivery fees?
Exactly. DoorDash needs to see how these machine-to-machine interactions behave.
Okay, my head's spinning a bit here. We've got agents in expendable bomb bunker VMs, spending pocket money out of virtual wallets, interacting with other corporate bots.
Yeah, it's wild.
With all this automated infrastructure, the sheer volume of software is skyrocketing. What does this actually do to the economic value of coding?
It completely flips the unit economics. We're hitting a falling floor.
Meaning, the baseline cost of production is just dropping out from underneath us?
Radically. GPT 5.6 Luna just got 80% cheaper for API access. As AI inference costs approach zero, generating functional code becomes essentially free.
Right, so if generating a bespoke custom app is free, what exactly are we getting paid for? Why hire a human developer?
That is the existential question right now. And it's also triggering the end of traditional no-code platforms.
Really? I think no-code would thrive. I just drag and drop blocks.
You'd think so, but they're too rigid. If you can set up an LLM loop to write flexible software from scratch for pennies, why pay a massive enterprise subscription for a restrictive drag-and-drop tool?
Custom code via AI is cheaper than the templates. Okay, so back to my panic attack. What is the human engineer's actual job now?
The core philosophy emerging is this. Taste is all that's left.
Taste, like a fashion editor.
Exactly. Historically, the sheer grinding effort of writing and debugging code acted as a natural filter. You only built things worth the pain of building.
Because it took a team of 5 engineers 6 months. You didn't just build a random widget on a Tuesday?
Right. The friction protected us from bad ideas. Now that friction is gone, the market is flooded with mediocre products.
So the true skill is discerning what is actually worth creating.
Pure editorial judgment. But this shift is causing massive cultural friction. Have you seen the chatter around the Born Against movement?
I haven't. Who are they against?
They're passionate hobbyist programmers who are becoming aggressively hostile toward using any LLMs in coding.
But why? If I'm a hobbyist, wouldn't I love a tool that makes my weekend project faster?
Because for them, the friction isn't a barrier. The friction is the entire point. Mastering the craft, deeply understanding memory management, that is why they do it.
I actually totally get that. It's like using a highly automated CNC machine to perfectly carve a wooden bowl in 2 minutes and then taking it to a traditional ham carving club.
Yeah, exactly.
The club members are going to look at it and say, mate, you missed the entire point of why we gather in this shed.
It really is. They value the human touch.
Yeah.
But commercially, the survival strategy looks different. Long-term, specialized industry expertise is what will survive.
Deep domain knowledge.
Yes, understanding the completely illogical rules of healthcare billing or fluid dynamics. The AI is just a fast tool to execute that knowledge.
So knowing the business logic is way more valuable than knowing Python syntax.
That and reusable platform engineering.
Yeah.
Because someone has to build the highly scalable infrastructure where those agents live.
It goes right back to the bomb bunker analogy. The AI can play with the explosives, but a highly skilled human still has to core the concrete.
A human who knows exactly how thick that concrete needs to be so the building doesn't collapse.
I reckon that pretty much shapes where the whole industry's heading. In the near future, the highest paid engineers won't be the ones writing the fastest code.
No, they won't.
They'll be the ones with the refined taste and the architectural scars to know exactly what not to build.
It is the ultimate shift from being a typist to being an editor.
But it does leave you with one massive question. If human taste is the only thing left of actual value, what happens when these models learn how to replicate human taste for themselves?
Now that is a thought that keeps you up at night.
A bit of a worry that, if you're keen to keep tracking where this wild industry is heading next, make sure you're subscribed to the feed. Vocal Technologist, see you soon.
Spoken Tech for your ears.